I never imagined a simple note would unravel a billionaire's darkest secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My hands trembled as I unfolded that crisp, white paper. The faint scent of ink mixed with a musty odor wafted through the air, like a secret longing to be revealed. My breath caught in my throat. The note had words, yes, but they held a weight I never anticipated. It was more than a message, it was a key, a ticket to a world woven with treachery and despair. Standing in my small apartment, I could hear the bubbling silence around me. It felt like the walls were closing in, threatening to swallow me whole. Shadows flickered in the dim light, creeping closer, whispering doubts. Everyone around me had seen the polished facade of Nathan Crest, the billionaire whose name echoed in every corner of the city. Charismatic, indulgent, powerful. He had it all. Yet here I was, holding evidence that could shatter it. That I thought of my father, of how he used to say, money reveals the true character of a man. I clenched my teeth at the thought. Was Nathan truly who he claimed? All those lavish parties, the bright smiles, could they mask something darker beneath? The note felt heavy in my palm like a hot stone about to burn my skin. As I read the haunting words again, my heart raced. Your debt demands its payment, and if you don't pay up, not only your reputation but everything you love will hang in the balance. In my mind, I retraced the moments we shared. The laughter, the warmth, the tenderness. He held my heart, yet the coldness of betrayal swirled around me like a thick fog. I could almost hear the whispers of doubt echoing in the background. What have you done, Alice? What will you do? Suddenly, the world outside my window seemed ominous. I saw shadows flit by on the street below, as if the city itself held its breath, waiting for me to act. My palms were slick with sweat. The future flashed before me, twisted and dark. Would I choose to confront Nathan? To uncover the truth lurking beneath the surface? Or would I bury this secret, this burden so heavy it felt like 1,000 anchors pulling me under? As I flipped the note over, my gaze grazed over the scrawled initials, J.M. A shiver ran through my spine. Who was this J.M.? What connection did they have to Nathan? Each unanswered question gnawed at me, raw and relentless. The air felt charged, electric, a storm brewing on the horizon. The weight of the note pressed down harder than ever before. What lay ahead was a path of uncertainties and danger. And I knew deep down that the moment I stepped onto it, nothing would ever be the same. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night draped itself over the city like a velvet cloak, an inky sky filled with stars that gleamed like distant hopes. I stood frozen in my living room, the note still clutched tightly in my hand. The vibrant life of the city hummed outside, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within me. Each honk of a horn, each wave of laughter creeping through my window felt like a reminder of the innocence I was about to lose. That I needed to act, but fear rooted me to the spot. What if confronting Nathan only deepened the chasm between us? The thought of losing him sent a wave of panic coursing through my veins. Yet I knew that keeping the secret would forever taint what we had, turning love into a facade built on lies. I closed my eyes, trying to summon the memories of our brief, beautiful moments, a quiet dinner where our knees brushed under the table, a fun-filled day where we lost ourselves in a crowd. I savored the taste of his laughter, wondering if it could erase the shadows of the note. But the more I recalled our time together, the more I felt drawn to the dark underbelly I was now forced to confront. Before I could second-guess myself, I dialed Nathan's number. Each ring echoed like the ticking of a clock, urging me toward a resolution. When he finally answered, his smooth voice had a warmth that wrapped around my heart, yet sounded foreign in the wake of uncertainty. Alice? Is everything okay? He asked, the concern in his tone a tender reminder of the man he was, a stark contrast to the potential monster entwined within the revelation of the note. Can we meet? The urgency in my voice startled me, but I couldn't backtrack now. Of course. Is everything all right? His voice was calm, but I heard the undercurrent of worry bubbling beneath. My heart raced as I agreed on a time and place, feeling both a sense of dread and an unexpected flicker of hope. The meeting spot was a quaint cafe on the corner of 12th and Elm, where the scent of coffee danced through the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of pastries. As I approached the cafe, I could see Nathan sitting at a table by the window, his head bent in thought. The sight made my heart ache. He looked so peaceful, so unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. With every step I took, my resolve faltered. What if I was wrong? What if I was about to destroy everything we had? But I resolved to remember the weight of the note as I slid into the chair opposite him, determined to face the truth. Alice, you look pale. Are you sure you're all right? His eyes searched mine, searching for answers to questions he didn't know existed. I found something, I stammered, my heart pounding. Something about you. Something that could change everything. His expression shifted, a fleeting shadow of concern passing over his features, replaced quickly by a composed mask. What do you mean? Taking a deep breath, I wrestled with my emotions, blending fear with the remnants of my affection. This was the moment its crux held the potential to unearth not only his secret but ours, everything fragile and beautiful. It's about a note, I started, but before I could continue, the cafe's door swung open, a rush of cold air sweeping through, stealing my voice away. In walked a figure cloaked in shadows, commanding attention without uttering a word. As he stepped closer, I felt an instinctive tremor in my bones. Something about the way he carried himself, the sharpness in his eyes, sent alarms ringing in my mind. He glanced at Nathan, then back at me, a slight smirk playing on his lips. Ah, Nathan. You didn't tell me you had company, he drawled, his voice smooth yet laced with malice. My nerves flared, dread pooling in my stomach. Nico, Nathan said, tension threading through his tone, his gaze hardening. What are you doing here? The man, Nico, leaned forward, his presence dark and intimidating. I came to remind you that debts don't simply disappear. And they can have unsettling repercussions, especially when a little bird is listening. My pulse quickened, the weight of the note suddenly feeling lighter. Compared to the new threat looming over us. I exchanged a glance with Nathan, who looked torn between anger and fear, as if the walls around us had begun to close in even tighter. What do you mean? Nathan asked, his calm facade faltering as dread crept into his voice. Nico chuckled softly, but there was no warmth in it, only a chilling warning. Let's just say, you have more to lose than you think, especially when your little secrets begin to slip through the cracks. Just like that, a knot twisted in my stomach, a realization washing over me. The stakes had been upped, and now, we were teetering on the edge of a precipice where the truth could exact a toll that neither Nathan nor I were ready to pay. As I glanced at Nathan, desperation in my heart, I sensed he was about to sink deeper into the shadows of his own life, and I was left with an unsettling question: did I even know the man I loved? The cafe felt unbearably small as Nico's presence enveloped us, a noose tightening around the fragile thread of our connection. I could see Nathan's jaw clench, his eyes shooting daggers at the man who had just barged into our lives, sullied the sweet aroma of coffee with his sinister undertone. A moment of silence stretched thin, filled only by the subtle hum of background chatter. Each laugh and clink of cups now felt discordant against the heavy tension that had taken root. Nico leaned back in his chair, seemingly relishing the uncertainty he had injected into our conversation. You know, Nathan, it's always the ones who think they have control who make the biggest blunders. He flicked his gaze toward me, making me feel exposed, like a chapter of a book open for scrutiny and ridicule. Or maybe I'm just saying this for the benefit of your friend here. Secrets. I blinked, willing myself to process the whirlwind of accusations and veiled threats. The weight of the note I held earlier seemed to fade into insignificance, dwarfed by what was unraveling before our eyes. The confidence I'd prepared to face Nathan with dissipated, replaced by a sense of foreboding. What had I stumbled into? "Nico, just leave," Nathan said firmly, but there was an underlying tremor to his voice, a hint that belied the calm facade he was trying to construct. "Leave? But we're just getting started," Nico replied, mocking the sincerity of Nathan's concern. "You think you can just erase your obligations? I've come to collect on a debt, and it's overdue. It wouldn't be wise to let your little secret slip out, considering all I've done to protect your precious reputation." A sharp gasp escaped me, the realization crashing over me that Nathan was not the man I thought I knew. The things left unspoken between us hung like specters, and I felt like a mere spectator of a theater performance where the plot twisted unexpectedly. "Nico, this has nothing to do with Alice." Nathan's voice rose, fueling the tension in the air. "Don't drag her into this." And just like that, a flicker of instinct kicked in within me. I had come to confront Nathan about my discovery, but as I looked at him now, I realized there was so much more beneath the surface I needed to uncover. I wanted to believe that love could conquer secrets, but the dark truths leering at us made hope seem like a cruel joke. "You really think you can protect her?" Nico laughed, a sound devoid of mirth. "From what I know. From what she deserves to know. It's only a matter of time before it all spills over." My heart sank at the implication of his words, aching for Nathan, yet also for myself. The tension between the two men crackled like a wire about to snap, and I felt utterly lost, torn between confronting Nathan's past and the overwhelming urge to shield him from this impending chaos. "Who are you? What kind of game are you playing?" I interjected, my voice trembling yet filled with a resolve I didn't know I possessed. Nico turned his attention to me, his eyes gleaming with fiendish delight. "I'm simply the one sent to remind Nathan of his choices. A friend, if you will," he paused, giving me a once-over as though sizing me up. "And a little bird who cherishes truth, even if it stings." "It's time to go," Nathan said, rising abruptly, but the fear in his demeanor contradicted his commanding tone. "Where exactly do you think you're going?" "Running away doesn't solve anything, my friend," Nico taunted, leaning in closer, his gaze a steel trap flipping the light shame into darkness. "You'd be better off accepting that your secrets are now coiled around you like a serpent waiting to strike, and no amount of bravado can save you once they're set free." For a moment, a void of uncertainty enveloped us. I felt like I was spiraling, caught between a rock and a hard place, unsure if I should flee or fight for the truth I once yearned for. Nathan looked at me, his familiar eyes darkened by conflict, and I felt my heartache speak. Would he share this burden with me or push me away, further into the shadows of his mysterious world? In a moment of bravery or perhaps folly, I leaned forward, spilling words that danced in my desperate mind. "Nathan, please tell me the truth. I deserve that much." His eyes sparkled with fear and something deeper, pangs of regret flickering behind the anger. "Alice," at that instant, the door swung wide, an unexpected wave of cold air surging through, revealing an unexpected figure, a woman, strikingly familiar. With a gasp, I recognized her. Emma, one of Nathan's closest associates, a woman he had never mentioned to me. She stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes darting between us, an expression of shock plastered across her face. Did I walk in on something?" she stammered, gripping her bag tighter as though it were a lifeline. The world around us tilted, a fresh storm brewing as I caught a glimpse of Nathan's horrified expression. In that singular moment, my heart fell into an abyss, knowing that the revelation I sought was merely the tip of an iceberg, and the very foundation of our relationship threatened to shatter around us. Nico's lips curled into a devilish smile as he leaned back, relishing the upheaval he had ignited. "Guess it's time for a little truth, wouldn't you say, Nathan?" The cafe felt suffocatingly small as the atmosphere shifted from quiet confusion to a thundering storm of emotions. I looked from Nathan to Emma, my heart racing like a wild drum. The world dimmed around me, reduced to the palpable tension strung tight like a bowstring ready to snap. I barely noticed Nico's malevolent grin as he reveled in our collective disarray. Alice Nathan's voice shattered the silence, trembling as he breathed my name, but before he could continue, Emma spoke up, her expression torn between concern and a hint of curiosity that danced like wildfire. "What is going on here?" she asked, the subtle edge in her voice cutting through the layers of mistrust coiling around us. My senses sharpened, taking in how she carried herself with a quiet authority in her sharp attire, a stark contrast to the fragile facade Nathan portrayed. "A friend of ours just stopped by," Nico interjected mockingly, leaning back in his seat and crossing his arms. "You know how it is, just casual chit-chat about old debts and ugly truths." "Old debts?" Emma's brows knitted in confusion, doubt shadowing her features. "Nathan, you're not Emma, this isn't what you think," Nathan hurriedly interrupted, visibly shaken. I felt a barb of betrayal pierce through me. Nathan had not shared everything with me. Now I was standing in the epicenter of whatever storm he had been trying to keep at bay, the truth as shrouded as the fog that hung outside the windows. "If you're hiding something from us, Nathan, it isn't going to end well. Not for you, or for Alice." Emma's words hung with the weight of 1,000 unsaid things that in that moment, I wanted nothing more than to escape this truth, a truth that threatened not only Nathan's carefully crafted world, but my place in it too. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to focus. The fragile remnants of our connection imploded with every word exchanged, but I couldn't let fear dictate my actions. "Nathan, what does she mean?" I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. "Just can we please talk in private?" he asked, the vulnerability seeping through his words, an unguarded window into his soul. But Emma stood resolutely, one foot still in the doorway, her arms crossed over her chest. The chaos had only just begun to unfold, and I found myself teetering on the precipice between desire for clarity and suffocating dread of what lay beneath. "Is this about the case?" she prodded, turning to him with a mix of suspicion and urgency. "What case?" I asked, my voice high-pitched and frantic as I sought to navigate the sudden chokehold of panic. "What are you involved in?" "Please don't," Nathan's pleading gaze found mine, his eyes swirling with an amalgamation of pain and sheer terror. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Apparently, neither do you." I shot back, raw and wounded. Frustration seeped like poison through the cracks of my heart, leaving me feeling fractured and exposed. Nico seized the moment, leaning forward and taunting Nathan again. "Clarity, huh? You've got to admit, this is quite the family reunion, don't you think? All this talk of debts and cases, imagine the headlines. Billionaire faces fall out over secrets, what a story it would make." His casual insensitivity made my stomach churn. I felt like a pawn on a chessboard, entirely outmaneuvered. But just as despair seeped into my resolve, I noticed the glimmer of something else rising within me, a spark of determination. "Nico might enjoy your games," I declared, standing my ground. "But I don't. You're not ruining my life with your petty games. Nathan deserves better, and so do I." Emma blinked in surprise at my sudden ferocity, and for a moment, I saw uncertainty flit across her otherwise authoritative demeanor. "Who are you, Alice?" Emma asked, her voice softer now, intrigued but cautious. "I'm someone who needs answers, and I won't let fear dictate my truth anymore," I replied, fueled by adrenaline coursing through my veins. The weight of secrets felt unbearable, but I could no longer stand idly by as secrets twisted Nathan's life into a tangled web. Nathan stepped forward, his intensity palpable, like a force field that wrapped around us both. "I'm sorry for all of this," he started, but before he could finish, a hush fell over us once more. Emma's eyes had caught something outside the cafe windows, and suddenly, my heartbeat seemed to sink with gravity's pull, the room tilting in anticipation. "Is that?" she started, the color draining from her face as we turned to follow her gaze outside. A black SUV rolled to a slow stop across the street, ominously black and sleek, the kind that made my heart pound with a fear I didn't yet understand. "What is happening?" I asked, my voice stumbling over the thick air of our gathering dread. Was it another player in this dangerous game? Nico's gaze sharpened, his smirk slipping as he glanced at the vehicle. "Looks like the night is just getting started," he murmured, his tone losing its playful edge. Before I could register the incoming doom, Nathan's eyes widened in a panic I had never seen before. "We have to go. Now." The truth felt like an abyss swallowing me whole, the chaos around us ramping up in a way that turned moments into heartbeats, and secrets into shadows looming over us. As we each stepped closer to one another, inseparably tangled in this web of vulnerability, hope flickered wanly on the edges of our plight. But we were careening towards something much darker than we ever anticipated. And as Nathan grabbed my hand tightly, the world blurred around us. Whatever lay ahead was an uncertainty wrapped in impending revelations we could no longer avoid. I knew the answers would be haunting, but I had no idea how desperately my heart would tremble to receive them. The cafe doors swung open with a sharp clang, sending a jarring chill through the air. I felt the collective breath of everyone inside hitch, a palpable shift that had nothing to do with the weather outside. The power dynamics morphed instantly as a tall figure stepped inside, their presence drawing all eyes, including mine. "Is this the spot?" The voice was smooth yet edged with authority. My heart sank as recognition washed over me, a familiar unease creeping up my spine. It was James, Nathan's business partner, the one who always seemed to walk the line between charisma and deception. "What are you doing here?" Nathan's voice had morphed into a low growl, his grip on my hand tightening. "I'm here to collect what's owed." James' gaze flickered between the four of us, measuring the fallout. "I thought I would remind you of your obligations in person." "Nathan," Emma warned, inching closer to us, protective yet wary. "What did you get yourself into?" The tension hung thick as syrup, and I could feel a storm brewing behind Nathan's eyes, emotions shifting as rapidly as the weather on an autumn day. "I'll handle it, Emma. Just stay out of this," he urged, though his voice quivered slightly. "Handle what?" I interjected, an insistent need to break through the swirling chaos. "This has nothing to do with me, but you've dragged me into it, Nathan. I deserve to know." James' smile was a mask of intrigue, watching me as if calculating my worth in this twisted game. "What a charming little firecracker we have here," he mused, his tone both playful and layered with threat. "Unfortunately, sweethearts inevitably burn out, and our dear Nathan seems to have stoked the flames a bit too high, hasn't he?" "Shut up," Nathan growled, his voice low, dangerous. "No, Nathan, let him speak," I pushed back, needing to understand how deep this rabbit hole went. "What is it you owe him?" James feigned indifference, crossing his arms as he leaned against the counter. "You're quite the eager little one, aren't you? Nathan has an outstanding loan, that's more than just a casual agreement." His eyes glinted with malice. "And let's just say the consequences of non-payment might not be confined to mere financial repercussions. Lives could hang in the balance." A chill settled in my gut like a lead weight. "Lives?" I echoed, my heartbeat throbbing in my ears. Nico, lurking behind us, chuckled darkly. "Not just money, sweet Alice. You see, when alliances shift, sometimes those involved must pay in ways far beyond the tangibility of coins or bills. Wouldn't that be rich a story worth sharing?" Panic surged within me like an electric current. "Nathan, you didn't tell me any of this. What kind of deals have you made?" My voice barely contained the tremor, anxiety threatening to spill over into tears. Nathan's face tightened, and for a brief moment, something flickered within his eyes, a mixture of regret and determination. "It happened before I met you. I thought I could fix it." The admission spilled out, raw and vulnerable, but the desperation clawing at him was etched deeper than mere obligation. "Fix it?" Emma echoed, anger sparking like violent matches in dry tinder. "By putting your life and Alice's on the line?" James interrupted, reveling in the revelations. "You see, dear Nathan, you can't run from what you owe, especially when old friends come knocking." The smirk on his face haunted the edges of my sanity that I glanced at Emma, who met my gaze with a defiant look. "He's not doing this alone. But they were drowning in a tempest while all I could do was struggle against the rising tide of fear. A serious reality settled upon us like a shroud as Nathan turned back to face the impending storm. "We'll figure this out together, Alice," he said, though uncertainty laced his assurance. Before I could respond, the café's door banged open once more, cascading in the gust of night air, and a familiar face entered. Julia, an old friend of Nathan but one I had always felt was out of touch with the chaos he attracted. "Alice? What are you doing here?" she exclaimed, her expression moving from surprise to concern. As she took in the heated scene, her eyes fixing on James. "Just catching up," James replied smoothly, leaning against the counter as if he owned the room. "I don't think that's what it looks like." Julia's voice trailed off, skepticism knitted into her brow. I felt the foundations of my reality cracking beneath the weight of all this chaos. What kind of world had Nathan stepped into that now threatened to entrain my tranquil existence? Then, in that critical moment, Nathan's phone buzzed, its tone slicing through the heavy air like a knife. He pulled it out, and as his fingers swiped the screen, his expression changed. It shifted from troubled to grave. The color drained from his face, and I felt an instinctive lurch in my stomach. "What is it?" I pressed, urgency latching onto every syllable. He looked up, fear glistening in his eyes, before whispering something that shook the fragile balance we had tried to maintain in this brewing storm. "They've found her." My blood ran cold, and what little hope flickered above the darkness took a sharp turn into uncharted terror. Whatever morass we were wading through, it had escalated into something far more sinister than I had ever imagined. And just like that, our world so delicately constructed came tumbling down, each secret threatening to unravel the remnants of our fragile connection. The café felt like a cage, the walls closing in as silence stabbed the air with its intensity. I searched Nathan's face, desperation clawing at my heart. "Who have they found?" His breath hitched, the flutter of vulnerability stark against his fierce exterior. "My sister Sarah," he whispered, forcing the words from his lips as if revealing a wound that had never fully healed. My hands trembled as the name landed like a stone in a still pond, sending ripples of confusion and fear through me. "Nathan, I didn't even know you had a sister." There was so much we hadn't shared, secrets sprawling like shadows in the corners of our voices. "No one knows. She's been in a bad place for a while now." He clenched his jaw, his eyes darting toward James, whose smug smirk hinted at twisted knowledge I couldn't yet comprehend. "And they're not just looking for her, they're looking for me and the debts I owe." Cold realization hit me. Does this mean she's in danger? James pushed himself off the counter, eyes glimmering with the thrill of chaos. "Let us call it collateral damage, shall we? You never truly escape your choices, especially the bad ones." "And Nathan?" He leaned closer, tauntingly calm. "Your past has a way of catching up with you." "All for money?" Emma snorted, struggling to process the chilliness of the moment. "You wouldn't put someone's life at risk for a few dollars, would you?" But it wasn't just about the money. Even if I couldn't see how deeply Nathan was entangled in this web, the shadows began to infect my thoughts. What kind of person would risk family and friends for debts blooming like toxic weeds? "I never thought it would come to this," Nathan murmured, his voice small. I longed to wrap my arms around him, to pull him back from the brink of darkness that threatened to engulf him. "I thought I could handle it. I thought it wouldn't touch you." "Nathan, we're in this together now," I insisted, the weight of my own fear blending with resolve. "We can't let them hurt her." Suddenly, the café door flew open again, the insistent jangle of the bell vibrating with urgency. Our eyes snapped toward the entrance, and I held breath, half hoping for the intrusion to be a helpful ally and half dreading another component of this mess. That in walked Marcus, Nathan's childhood friend. His existence had always been a comforting shadow in the background, someone less tracked by ambition than Nathan. He was disheveled, as if he had been running. For a fleeting moment, the sight of him filled me with something akin to relief. "Nathan," he panted, rushing to our side. "I just heard. It's worse than we thought. They want more than just payback. His dark eyes flitted around the cafe, absorbing the tension that hung thick in the air. There are people looking for Sarah, and they know where she is. They think she has something. What? Nathan's voice rose, disbelief and dread coiling together. What does she have? A note, apparently. Something she either took or was given. It's tied to your family's past, something hidden. My heart raced, pounding against my ribcage as fear and uncertainty collided. What does that mean? It means they'll do anything to find it, Marcus explained, grim urgency etched in every line of his face. And if they think you can lead them to it, then they'll use me as bait, Nathan finished quietly, the stark acceptance of his fate hanging heavy in the air. No. I exclaimed, panic igniting within me. We can't let them do this. We have to go to the police that want help. Nathan shook his head, face lined with defeat. If they have her, the police want be able to protect her. The higher-ups are involved, and God knows who else. Higher-ups? Emma interjected, disbelief creeping into her voice. You mean like powerful people, Nathan interrupted, eyes blazing with a frantic intensity that mirrored my own racing thoughts. People who have everything to lose if this info gets out. As fear overtook my rationality, I could see the tangled threads of his life unfurl before me, knots twisting and tightening into a noose. There was nothing simple about where we found ourselves now, and the weight of our choices was heavier than I could comprehend. Just as the hope slipped through my fingers like sand, James broke the tension, his tone unnervingly smooth. Well, this is quite the predicament, isn't it? Let's just say, I might be able to help with this little finding situation. For a price, of course. My shoulders tensed, alarm ringing through my thoughts. His sly smile instead brought bile to my throat, and I knew whatever happened next, we wouldn't be facing it in the same way anymore. Nathan's eyes flared, and I held my breath, caught between despair and the inklings of a plan forming in my mind. Before I could interject, before I could advocate for the safety of his sister, James continued, a glint in his eye sharper than glass, but you'll need to consider what you're willing to sacrifice, Nathan. Because trust me, this note could either save her or seal her fate. And with those words, the fragile shreds of hope I clung to appeared even more impossible than before, the walls of despair closing in once more as our fates began to intertwine in ways deeper than I had ever imagined. The cafe, once a familiar refuge, now loomed like an unforgiving arena. I could feel the weight of Nathan's unyielding conflict pressing upon us, but then a new thought pierced through the chaos. Sarah. How could we possibly reach her before this mess spiraled completely out of control? My thoughts raced as James's smirk seemed to grow all the more sinister in the shifting light of the late afternoon. Why not let them find me? Nathan suddenly spoke, his voice cracking slightly under the pressure. If they think I'm the key to getting whatever it is they want, maybe they'll leave Sarah alone. I can stop. I cut him off, my heart pounding so fiercely I was almost vibrating with the force of it. You can't just throw yourself to the wolves. That's not the answer. My desperation spilled out, mingling with the fear that had gripped me since the moment I realized how tangled Nathan's world was. They could hurt you. They could hurt her. I can take care of myself, he replied, but there was a tremor in his voice, a flicker of doubt that betrayed his bravado. Marcus stepped forward, his expression firm but compassionate. Look, Nathan. This is bigger than you. If they have Sarah and she has something that could expose them. He trailed off, shaking his head as if to shake loose the implications. You can't fight this alone. We need a plan, something solid. I grasped Nathan's arm, trying to convey my unwavering support despite the terror gripping my chest. The thought of losing him sent tremors of panic through my resolve. You're not alone in this. I want to let you go down that path. As the weight of silence enveloped us, James resumed his casual pace along the edge of our anxiety, enjoying the moment. You really ought to consider my offer. You see, I have connections that could actually turn this around. But he leaned in closer, his eyes shimmering with a sadistic glint. They come at a cost. The only thing I'm willing to pay is my fist to your face, Emma snapped, stepping in front of me defensively, a sluggish anger burning behind her eyes. Easy there, Tiger, James teased, holding up his hands, though his gaze remained locked on Nathan. I'm offering you a way out. Help your sister, keep your secrets under wraps, and, who knows, you might just come out of this alive. But if you continue on this path, well, let us just say this family secret could very well be your downfall. Before Nathan could respond, a tremor raced through the air, awakening a new wave of unease. The cafe door swung open again, cold air flooding in alongside the figure standing there, an official-looking woman in a dark trench coat, eyes scanning the cafe like a hawk searching for prey. The tension shifted palpably, panic crawling along my spine. Nathan's expression darkened, his entire demeanor shifted to one of wariness and dread. If she was who I thought she was, the stakes had escalated beyond our comprehension. Please, not her, Nathan muttered, the color draining from his face. Who is she? I whispered urgently, fists clenching in anticipation. His eyes flicked toward me, the raw panic evident. She's connected to my past. She knows. Before I could ask what he meant, she strode toward us, each step punctuating the silence that enveloped the room. Her eyes landed on Nathan, assessing, dissecting. I felt the air grow thicker with her impending words. Nathan, we need to talk about your sister, she said, her tone a chilling mix of authority and familiarity. And we need to talk about the note. The cafe hummed with uncertainty, the weight of her presence palpable. Time seemed to stand still as I realized we were mere spectators in a twisted play, and the curtain was about to be drawn back. With barely a moment to process her arrival, a sound like a distant thunder rolled through our world, a message interrupted, an echo of trouble lying just on the outskirts of our reality. I could feel the universe shifting, like it had just moved a piece on a board I barely understood, and in that instant, as the edges of panic swirled around us like a maelstrom, I knew with terrifying clarity that we were about to be pulled deeper into a darkness we might never escape. Nathan's desperate gaze met mine, and I felt something shift, a shared realization that would change everything. The woman stepped forward, her voice low and insistent. You're not safe, Nathan. But we can change that if you're willing to pay the price. As she spoke those words, the uncertainty of our situation felt like shifting sands beneath my feet, and I couldn't shake the chilling thought that there was something far darker lurking just beyond our fate. The air was thick with tension, a palpable weight pressing down on us as the woman's presence filled the cafe with a sense of foreboding. I glanced at Nathan, whose eyes had locked onto the woman as if he were searching for a way out but found only further entrapment. Every bit of hope I had clung to seemed to be slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. Who are you? I managed to ask, though my voice trembled slightly, revealing my fear. The woman's gaze shifted towards me, assessing me with cool detachment. I'm someone who knows Nathan's past better than he wishes to admit, she replied, her voice unfaltering. And you should be aware that it's about to collide with the present. I could feel the dread pooling in my stomach, the fear for Sarah unmistakably intertwining with concern for Nathan. What do you mean by that? I demanded, thrusting my chin out defiantly even as my heart raced. She ignored me, instead continuing to focus on Nathan, her dark eyes narrowing as she stepped closer. We need to talk about the note, the one you think no one knows about. It contains sensitive information that both your enemies and the authorities are looking for. Nathan's expression morphed from wariness to sheer horror, as if she had struck a nerve. No, that can't be. His voice was barely above a whisper, and in that moment, we were all suspended in time, grappling with the uncertainty of our situation. Where is Sarah? I urged, the desperation leaking through my steady facade. What does this have to do with her? Everything, the woman replied sharply, a slight edge creeping into her tone. This isn't just a matter of keeping her safe. This involves your entire family, Nathan. Secrets don't remain buried forever. Secrets? Nathan echoed, his voice trembling. What secrets? Before she could answer, the door swung open again, an abrupt gust of wind scattering napkins across our table. A newcomer stepped in, catching my eye, a young man I recognized from Nathan's past. His face bore the marks of hardship and anger, shadows deeper than what I could understand. Shaw, Nathan breathed, the name reverberating in the depths of his turmoil. Looks like the party's really started, Shaw sneered, his gaze darting between Nathan and the woman. I'll give you a hint, Nathan. That note isn't your only problem. What have you done? Nathan demanded, stepping forward, his fear morphing into fury. Just making sure everyone's involved in this little game of yours, Shaw replied, his smirk climbing higher. If you want to play, you better come prepared, or it'll cost you dearly. I can assure you, Sarah isn't the only pawn on this board. I felt the walls closing in, the implications swirling like smoke in the aftermath of crisis. My heart raced, and my mind struggled to keep up with the chaos unfolding before me. What do you want? I blurted out, grasping at straws of hope. Whatever it is, we can find a way to negotiate. The woman stepped in front of me, her voice growing steely. You can't negotiate with criminals, and that's what you're dealing with. She pointed an accusatory finger above a whisper to Shaw. You're out of your depth. Maybe, he shot back, a hardened glint in his eye. But Nathan here isn't innocent. He's practically waving a red flag. And his little sister? She's the one caught in the crossfire. I'd suggest you keep your head low, all of you. The warning hung heavy in the air like a storm cloud. I turned to Nathan, seeing the storm brewing behind his eyes, a mix of regret, anger, and desperation. We can't let this go on, I said, my voice softening, reaching for him through the chaos. You can't let them win. Nathan clenched his jaw, the fight within him wrestling with the despair that surrounded us. I just need to buy us time, he said finally, and I knew in that moment he was contemplating something dangerous, how far he was willing to go to save Sarah. Time. How do you plan to do that? I asked, dread creeping back in. Before he could respond, the cafe door creaked open again. This time, we were met with the sound of sirens blaring outside, growing closer with each passing second. The reality of our situation hit me harder than ever. Things are spiraling, I said, my voice rising. We don't have time. Please, whatever you're thinking, don't do it. He shook his head, determination lacing his voice. I have to protect her. It's the only way. But with that, the woman stepped forward, a new urgency brighter in her eyes. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything, Sarah, the note, and the threads that bind us to this nightmare. The chaotic blend of sirens and mounting tension gnawed at my insides, leaving me terrified of the worst yet to come. I reached out, grabbing Nathan's arm, pulling him closer as the finality of his choice hovered in the air. If you're going to gamble, Nathan, Shaw interrupted, his smirk betraying malice, you better be ready to risk it all. Because I can assure you, this isn't just about the note. We're just getting started. And as the sound of footsteps approached, echoing ominously closer, I realized with horror that we might have already crossed a line we could never return from. The stakes had never been higher, and not just for us, but for Sarah, whose life hung precariously in the balance of Nathan's next decision. The chaos in the cafe had reached a fever pitch, the cacophony of sirens blending with the frantic whispers and accusations swirling around us. My heart fluttered like a trapped bird as I took in the scene: Nathan, poised on the brink of a decision, Shaw lurking like a predator, and the unknown woman, her intentions obscured behind her impassive facade. Let us go, Nathan finally exclaimed, his voice cutting through the noise like a knife. The urgency in his tone pulled me out of my reverie, the desperate need for action grounding me even as fear clawed at my insides. What about Sarah? I asked fiercely. We can't leave her, Nathan. We'll find her, he replied, gripping my shoulder as if my strength could somehow bring clarity. But we can't do it here. Shaw scoffed, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed smugly. You think escaping will save her? You're not just running from me. They're coming for both of you. You have no idea the web you're tangled in. His eyes twinkled darkly as if he were sharing a secret joke at our expense. Who are they? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Who is after us? The woman suddenly stepped in, her demeanor shifting to one of protective urgency. Enough games, Shaw. If you know what's at stake, stop dragging this out. They need to understand the gravity before it's too late. Gravity? Or are you just making sure your favorite doesn't end up 6 feet under? Shaw retorted, but his bravado faltered under her unwavering gaze. Nathan hesitated, the storm in his mind visibly battling against the rising tide of his emotions. We don't have time for this. We need a plan, he said, his voice resolute but betraying an undercurrent of panic. The woman nodded sharply, her focus laser-like as she turned back to us. Follow me. There's a back exit that will lead us to a safe place where we can regroup and figure out our next move. I felt a spark of hope flicker within me, and yet, as we moved toward the exit, I could still hear the rattle of uncertainty resonating in Nathan's voice. Trust her, he urged quietly. If we don't, there's a chance we'll lose any opportunity to save Sarah. But I could feel the layer of doubt thickening between us like a fog creeping in. What choice do we have? I whispered back, clenching my fists. We slipped through the old wooden door that creaked ominously as if warning us of the dangers lurking just beyond. Once outside, the chill of the evening air wrapped around us, sharp and biting. We had lost precious seconds, but the cacophony of the sirens faded into the distance. Nathan, the woman, and I navigated through the darkened alleys, our footsteps echoing against the brick walls. Just ahead, the glimmer of light from an unmarked van broke the gloom. It looked innocuous, but inside, I knew our fate could hang in the balance. Get in, she instructed, the chill in her voice contrasting with the urgency in her movements. But even as we made our way to the back, doubt gnawed at me. What are you hiding? I asked her bluntly. You can't expect us to trust you blindly. You know Nathan's past, but we don't know anything about you. There are things you're not ready to understand, she replied, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. But right now, your focus has to be on Sarah. We don't have the luxury of time. As I stepped into the van, the door swung shut behind me, sealing my fate with a heavy thud. The interior was uncluttered, save for a small table covered by a map and photographs that looked suspiciously tied to Nathan's past. Don't, Nathan's voice cut through my thoughts as he caught the mix of shock and dread on my face. We need to focus. But the woman leaned in, her expression growing grave. I know Nathan has made mistakes, we need to confront them because there are forces at play far more dangerous than you know. Shaw isn't the only one with a shadowy past. I flinched as the weight of her words enveloped me. What do you mean? Before she could answer, the van lurched forward, the sudden motion sending a jolt through my body. Panic washed over me as I realized we were being taken away from the cafe, away from safety, and straight into the unknown. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of something strange protruding from beneath the table, a familiar notebook. The one Nathan thought he had lost, the one that held secrets better left buried. As I reached for it, Nathan's hand shot out to stop me. Don't. You don't understand what that could unleash. His eyes were wide with fear more palpable than ever, but before I could ask what he meant, the woman's voice turned sharp. We have company. Before I could fully comprehend what she meant, the van slammed to a halt, the sound of tires skidding to a stop echoing through the still night. The door burst open, and shadows loomed around us, menacing figures with faces hidden in the darkness. Instinctively, I clutched the notebook to my chest, and as we were ensnared by the threat outside, I realized that the past was rather intoxicatingly interwoven with the present, and it might just cost us everything. The atmosphere inside the van thickened with dread as the door swung open, flooding the cramped space with cold air. My heart raced, fear pressing against my chest like an iron weight. Shadows loomed outside, cutting into the faint light, and each pair of eyes felt like a harbinger of doom. Get back! Nathan shouted, instantly shoving me behind him as if to shield me from whatever danger lay beyond. It was instinctual protective, and it tugged at my heart. But I could feel the cracks of our reality widening, the fragile threads of hope beginning to fray. The woman beside me, a stranger, stepped forward, her demeanor radiating controlled intensity. "We're not here to hurt you," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. "But we need to move, and we need the truth." "What truth?" I managed, my voice trembling as I peeked around Nathan. The figures remained shrouded, obscured in darkness, but the tension felt palpable, claustrophobic. The lead figure pushed forward into the light, revealing a familiar face that sent a chill down my spine. "James." Well, Nathan. "Look who's all wrapped up in a mess of their own making." His voice dripped with condescension, striking at the wound of our already fractured world. "You really thought you could outrun your past? How naive." "No," Nathan said, voice resolute but wavering. "Whatever debt you think you can collect, I'm not backing down." "You're a fool," James retorted. "You think putting on a brave front will shield the people you love from the music this game demands?" Fear clamped my throat as I was engulfed in a desperate urge to protect Nathan. "What do you want?" I shouted, the volume of my plea fighting against the encroaching darkness. James grinned, a shark-like smile glimmering beneath the streetlights. "Your sister, and the note is merely a formality, a way to leverage your connection to Sarah. It's all quite simple, really." The truth of his words shattered the defenses I had built around my heart. Everything Nathan had been protecting me from, the darkness, the secrets, and the shadows, were now spilling into the light. I clutched the notebook harder, its weight a reminder of the tangled path ahead. "What does it contain?" I asked, voice steady despite the tremor beneath my skin. "It's not about what it holds," James said slowly, savoring each word. "It's about what you'll do to keep it from falling into the wrong hands." "Enough games," the woman retorted, her patience worn thin. "If you want to play your little games, James, then let us go." James's gaze lingered on Nathan with palpable disdain. "You think you can control this chaos? You think you have power? Your little facade is about to crumble, Nathan, as it always does." The exchange felt like arrows loosed in a fray, each word a weapon tearing through the intricate web of pain that bound us. I leaned closer to Nathan, feeling his agitation simmer beneath the surface. "What are you planning to do?" I whispered, needing to bridge the unknown between us. He hesitated, vulnerable in a way I had never seen. "I can't let them hurt you." "No," I replied fiercely. "We're in this together. You can't keep pushing me away. I need you to trust me, and I need you to trust that we can face whatever comes together." The shadows outside shifted, the looming danger escalating. The woman, her expression morphing into one of fierce determination, glanced back at us. "We need to decide, Nathan, quickly. Will you take the..." An explosion of sound rang through the air, drowning out her words as the van rocked ominously. Someone had thrown something, and when I turned to glance outside, flames erupted up the side of the van. The scent of burning rubber filled my nostrils, and panic erupted through the confined space. "Get out!" Nathan shouted, yanking the door open wide. I stumbled out into the night, his hand gripping mine tightly as we leapt into the chaos, shouts in the distance blending with the burning wreckage behind us. We dashed through the alley, the rat-a-tat of footsteps echoing behind us. I felt the concrete beneath my shoes like quicksand, threatening to pull me into despair as desperate thoughts raced through my mind. What were we running from? What awaited us in the darkness? "Where's Sarah?" I called, heart pounding as Nathan led the charge, pulling me deeper into the night, desperation fueling his movements. The warmth of his hand reminded me we were alive, tethered to the hope that maybe we could change our fate. "We need to split up," he suggested breathlessly. "Take your way, head towards the old warehouse on 5th. I'll draw them away." My heart pounded heavier against my ribs, a voice of reason threatened to break through the panic. "No. We piece this together. We face it together. Time is running out." He shot back, a fierceness igniting in his eyes that betrayed his fear and determination. You need to trust me. Another moment in this place puts us all at risk. And without waiting for my response, he turned and sprinted into the shadows, his form quickly swallowed by the night. Tears prickled at the edges of my resolve, but I knew I needed to regain control. I could already feel fear surging into a desperate resolve that I turned and headed toward the warehouse, each step a blend of courage and trepidation. Surrounded by the unknown, I gripped the notebook tightly, reminding myself it was more than paper, it represented choices made, and the possibility of redemption. Inside the warehouse, the dim light flickered like fate teasing us from behind the veil of worry. The air was thick with dust, and each beam of light cast shapes that morphed into memories and desires of a life before the secrets revealed themselves. I began to sift through the contents of the notebook, its pages filled with symbols and notes that hinted at something deeper, something darker. What did you uncover? The woman's voice broke through the shadows, startling me. Secrets, I whispered, feeling the weight of their implications. Things he carried alone. We can't let this keep us apart. But as I continued scanning through the cryptic notes, I understood that this chaos wasn't just about Nathan's past. There were layers here, deeply entwined in something far more sinister than either of us had prepared for. Each line rang with urgency, reminding me that the pieces had long been in motion, and the finale was only beginning. The truth echoed around me, swirling in spirals of hope and horror, and I held on, desperately searching for a way to connect the dots. We can change this. We will find him. Just then, a shadow flitted across the doorway, and I knew without looking that trouble had found its way back to me. The night was just beginning to unravel, and I felt the weight of its darkness wrap around my soul. That's when I decided I wouldn't live in fear. Nathan had risked everything to save me. I would fight for us, I would mend the chaos threatening to tear us apart, and above all, I would confront the shadows of our past with every ounce of strength I possessed. But just as I gathered the resolve to act, the world around me exploded in light. It surged brighter than anything I had ever seen, as if redemption had finally broken free from the chains of despair, scattering the remnants of our anguish into the abyss, and in that moment, I realized what I truly held: everything I had been yearning for. I wouldn't have to face this alone, I only needed the courage to embrace the battle we had yet to fight. Trust the process, I whispered into the chaos, and as the darkness began to retreat, a light unfurled within. This whirlwind of emotions had led me here, to the crux of my heart. The uncertainty swirled like wind around fallen leaves, and out of that uncertainty unfurled new beginnings, and with that, the final spark ignited within me a fire burning brightly against the shadows, illuminating the path toward an unknown horizon, where fear would be transformed into strength and love would kindle the way home. So amidst the chaos, as the darkness danced around us, I knew one profound truth: even in the depths of despair, love would always find a way to light the way home.